Alright, are we recording, I hope? Googly, freaking moogly. Alright, move this out of the way. Alright, here we go. We're going to do a quick update. Well, quick, I don't know. Cycling in an aquarium. Here we go. Ammonia to nitrite to nitrate. What does that mean, Scott? Well, I'm going to try to tell you. When a fish poops or pees, it basically gets in the aquarium, it gets absorbed by several different sources. If you have plant matter, it will maybe absorb some of it, but eventually fish poop, fish urine, waste, whatever, dead fish, anything in there will eventually go to nitrite, which converts to nitrates. So basically, nitrates is the result of nitrite, which is the result of ammonia. Huh? I don't understand that. Well, you don't really need to completely understand it, but that's what, is going on here. If you're feeding in excess, you're going to create more and more of the waste. So let's go ahead and break this down. Alright, let's try to get to the next slide. Here we go. And again, I'll explain all this. If you're starting out, make sure you have the right lighting, okay? Don't have, dim light bulbs. Make sure your substrate and your filters are going. Add live plants, people, right here. I cannot stress that enough. Cannot stress that enough. Uh-oh. Well, I can stress that because that went wrong. Now let's go back up. Java moss and hornwort are basically idiot proof. They're easy, low-level light plants to start. Normal light bulbs will grow them, okay? I'm not going to get into all that, but you don't need a PhD to be able to run these plants, okay? Hornwort grows fast. Java moss very, very slow. Again, your light kind of depends on how quick they grow, but look at that. Plenty of hiding spaces in that little bit of Java moss for babies, okay? That's what we want down the road. No biggie. Alright, 4 ways to do it. Live fish, fishless, adding pre-seeded sources and additives. Live fish, ooh, worst way to freaking do it. But anyway, oh, well, right there, wow. Worst way possible. One, they suffer, they get ammonia poisoning, and what you'll notice is if a good way to know if your fish have ammonia poisoning, they're going to have red or pink in the gills. If you pay attention to your fish, which maybe you don't, it's most likely the best way to know, okay? Obviously, other than test kits and being a responsible fish keeper, parent, person. But they may or most likely won't survive, and if they do, you're probably going to have defects. Their babies will have defects, and at the bottom, first-time fish keepers or, children, nobody wants to wait. They're not patient. Little Joey goes to the fair and wins him a goldfish. Mommy, I want to take it home and throw it. And what mommy does, she brings it home, puts a bowl in, pours straight tap water in there. Of course, no dechlorinator. Oh, screw it, because we don't know what we're doing. Nothing, and little Joey's fish is bloated the next day, face up, or belly up. That ain't cool. And then you gotta bury him at the sea, the toilet. That's not cool. All right, let's continue. But uh, it, yeah, it's just a bad way, man. I really frown upon this. All right, vicious cycle, the best possible freaking way, other than maybe the next one, which is second best or maybe better, but we'll see. First of all, you hurt nothing. Little Timmy's feelings don't get hurt. No fish are bloated. Okay. Poor little Timmy's just having a rough day. But time is on your side. You got, if you have patience. All right, you must have patience. Okay, as the doctor would say. Bacteria has plenty of time to form. I did spell that right? Yeah. All right, and if you got to add plants day one. I'll get into this later. I'm not even sure why I stuck it in there. And kind of out of the way, really. The downfall, it takes 4 to 6 weeks, generally. It depends on 1,000 billion variables. What's 1,000 billion? Is that a quadrillion? I don't know. But anyway, You could cycle with ammonia or fish food. I will get into that later on how I do it. All right, adding preceded sources. This could be the best way. I don't know. It certainly speeds up the process. It's not the end all cure all, but you can add fish pretty quickly. Here's the downfall in there: you must have tanks or friends. Most of you probably don't have friends, so do you have other tanks? Ah, see, that was bad. That was bad, Scott. I'm sure all of you have friends, because we're the fish family. See? Joke. But anyway, I don't have any friends. Um, but um, the other disadvantage you might introduce parasites. And what I mean by all this is, what I do in a lot of my established tanks, seasoned tanks, tanks that have been up and running, I don't know, 6 months to a year or more, maybe as little as 3 months, is I'll throw sponge filters in there and and that's it. I just throw them in there, and I let them seed up for about a month or two, and let them do their thing, and then what we do is basically once you've seeded those and follow the other directions, water and substrate and filters and heaters. We'll get into that in a minute. You just throw them into the tank, and basically it's instant cycled. Okay, I'm not saying you can throw 300 fish in there, but you can probably easily throw, 4 or 5 in a 20 gallon. All right, keep it moving, Scott. Keep it moving. Additives, chemicals. No, 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 no. I've not seen any evidence myself that they ever worked. I've tried them. I can't stand to see fish suffer, though, so I've not gone through thorough experiments. Um, I know that tons of people on forums and this and that, you know, I'm just going to throw fish in there and keep adding back, prime, and keep adding stress guard and bacteria in a bottle and blah 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 to keep it going all day long. Well, one, it's expensive. Number two, you got a late day at work. Even if it did work, you have a late day at work or a mini holiday where you're gone for the weekend, chucking it up with the boys and slogging back a few, Ford Locos or whatever it is you drank, then you forget about it. All right, so there is a chart to the left. I will go into that in more detail, but we're not going to do that right now. So, a cycling chart. Hey, well, there's a chart. Now we're going into detail. Googly muggly. All right. Now, this is not 100% accurate at all. Every fish tank's different. Every fish tank has a different water source. Now, we're assuming you're treating your water, okay, people, before we put it into the tanks. That way there's no chloramines or chlorine, or is it chloramines? Whatever it is. But anyway, that way we know none of that's going there. But you got to pay attention to that chart. That's just kind of an average. The numbers on the bottom, left to right, is days. Okay? Days. These are parts per million. Okay? Ammonia, highly toxic. Nitrite, highly toxic. Nitrate, less harmful. Well, I'll be real here. As long as you keep that 40 parts per million or under, most people will say 20, it is harmless, basically. I've had mine as high as, I don't know, freaking 120 for some tanks I didn't pay attention to. Never killed anything. Did it help them? No. But anyway, as you can see, ammonia about day 10 or whatever to day 12 to day 13, it builds and builds and builds and then crashes. And then nitrites take over and the same thing. You have fish in there between these 28 days, well, basically 4 weeks, see? And that's not even long enough to cycle usually. You're going to have issues because fish, this kills fish. And then what happens is eventually nitrites take over and they spike. You do a large water change. This is 40%. I would say more like 50 to 60, honestly. And then it dips and goes up. And they have it at 25 parts per million. That's fine. That's not going to kill anything. Whoops. So anyway, ammonia breaks into nitrite, into nitrate. So from killing to acceptable. And you can see why it might take a while. Alright, how to start the cycle. Very easy. Right there. Pay attention to that. Add water. Live plants, not plastic, people. Live. Okay, you get them very cheap. I mean, Amazon swords, Java moss, Java fern, hornwort, blah blah blah. You put your substrate, rocks, filter lights, let it go. Lights 8 to 12 hours a day. Well, why, Scott? There's no fish in there. Well, I'm going to tell you if you listen, and I hope you're listening. But the reason we're doing this, we're acting like there's fish in there. You know why? It gets you in a cycle, okay? That every day I go to work at 7:30, so the lights come on at 7, and every day I get home at 5, the lights go off at 6 or 7 or 5, whatever. I don't think the amount of time the light's on is a big, huge deal. I would say at least 8 hours. And it probably helps the cycle a little bit on top of it because lights tend to be warm. Now, I can't speak for LEDs and all that crap anymore, but anyway, the surface of the water gets a little warmer, you get more bacteria. One thing I left out of here because I'm a dummy and didn't think ahead. Water temperature does affect bacteria. You're going to grow a lot more bacteria at 78 degrees or 80 degrees than you will at 70. Okay? And keep in mind, this is good bacteria. This is what we want. So I would recommend probably, whoops, hit the mic. I'd recommend probably 78 degrees roughly for the start, even if you only plan on keeping it 72, 70, 74, whatever. But run the aquarium for 4 to 6 weeks, just like there's fish in there. Okay, and I'm gonna leave out live fish and only focus on other ways. The other way is if you have old, I probably already mentioned this. I can't remember. Old filters, sand, rocks, anything to kickstart the process from another aquarium. If you got a bag, borrow, steal, anything from a well, we discussed I don't have friends, but I'm sure you all do. Grab, say if you don't have a tank to start with, can I grab some of your stuff for little Joey? Was that the name or Jimmy? I can't remember the little kid's name we mentioned earlier. But anyway, that helps speed up the process. Okay. Starting the cycle, here's how I do it. There's a million ways to do it. You can start the cycle by using ammonia and Ace Hardware ammonia, and I'll get into that here in a second. You can do it by just dropping a little bit of fish food in there a day, like you're feeding imaginary Joey's goldfish that's, remember, he's belly up and we done floated him in the toilet. Or you could add something like a frozen shrimp and let it rot, let it mildew, let it mold, let it get all gooey and sticky and everything fall. I don't even want to think about that. But that's not my scene, baby. Not my bag. But anyway, the reason I like Ace Hardware ammonia, several reasons. Number one, it has no sulficates in there. What's a sulficate, Scott? I understand you're asking that. Well, what happens is at Walmart and Kmart's and Kroger's and Piggly Wiggly's or wherever the Winn-Dixie's, wherever the hell you live, most people that sell ammonia, or most stores that sell ammonia, they put like little flavorings in there to make it smell better. Although if you better smell the stuff, it'll knock you straight out. Okay, this stuff is strong. But they put things in there to smell better. The way to find out, you shake the container really well. If you see any bubbles at all, that means they put detergents in there, whatever. Ace Hardware ammonia is the only one that I know of that has nothing in there. I've used it for years and years and years and years. Yeah, a lot of years. But anyway, um, I don't have an Ace Hardware, Scott. Well, maybe you can order it online. I don't know. But anyway, shake the bottle and you should see no foaming. I went to Home Depot recently. Same thing. They had stuff in there. Even though it didn't list on the bottle, it just said ammonia. And quote unquote, there's no pure thing or no such thing as pure ammonia. It's just This is sulfate-free ammonia. Okay. I went to Home Depot and Lowe's, and none of them had it. So anyway, that's where you need to be with that. Okay. Now we got that out of the way. Okay. And the reason I like using ammonia, you can test it. So the first thing I do, you notice that little, I don't know, a little Dr. Needle sponge thingy over there? Well, I have 3 rescue cats, okay? And at some point in time, I've had to give them all things in the mouth of whatever. I don't know where you can get those from. You might be able to go to your pharmacy and just say, "Hey, can I get an empty capsule or two?" You need it. As you notice, the one on the right says one